What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Collider Studio at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. I'm sitting here doing yet another interview for one of my favorite movies of the year. I feel like every single time I say that to you guys, there's more weight behind that statement because we're a little further into the year. The directors of Talk to Me. Wow.
We've missed you. We have missed you.
Our favorite interviews are with you. The Collider and Perry.
The ride you two have been on with this movie is nuts, and it does not surprise me one bit to see it embraced more and more and more every single step you take closer to that release. I cannot wait to see what happens when everybody in this country gets to see this movie.
Man, it's been so fun. We always go in to sit into the screenings, and we're planning to stay for a little bit then leave, but it's always so exciting when you're watching it with a crowd. It's just, it's so much fun.
You're going to have a good Comic-Con crowd tonight, too.
Oh, can't wait.
That's awesome. It's crazy when they go, yesterday they showed it in over 23 states, and it's oh wow, we didn't realize there's some turnaways, which is pretty good. Well, but we do want you guys to see it. But
Yeah, it was so mean.
no, it was people want to see the movie.
That was really mean.
That was really mean. I apologize.
I have some follow-up questions, I think, to the Q&A you did for that. But first, we're going to talk spoilers. I'll give everyone a clear spoiler warning. No one will watch that part of the interview until after the movie is released. But just so a couple more people out there who have not seen our Sundance conversation could, buy into the Talk to Me hype here.
Yeah.
A couple non-spoiler questions. First, you two essentially do what so many horror filmmakers chase in this industry. Just successfully finding a catchy high concept and justifying it. So it was making me wonder, is there another film out there that you saw do that well that made you think to yourselves, we have to do that for our hand and our lore? But then I want the opposite. Not necessarily calling out another film, but something else you saw done with a concept like that, saying, you know what? That's not right. We got to steer clear of that.
Oh my gosh, I like an object horror. You talking about a horror object film?
A horror object, something with a high concept. I have
yes,
Final
yes.
Destination on the brain 24/7, 365. So something like that.
Well, I do think from modern day, I love that the Conjuring franchise is has its own universe. I think that is so incredible and so exciting, and showing that crossover and the fact that name and that brand holds so much weight, and there's so many stories that exist inside it. I think that's a really awesome high concept franchise. I'd love the franchise Talk to Me. I think that'd be so much fun to do a sequel.
We're still, we manifested it at
we
Sundance.
manifested. Yes, it needs to happen.
Inevitable.
Come on.
It needs to happen. A sequel's been manifested. We'll see.
And you want us to call out a film?
No, you don't have to call it a film. Just something done in horror movies that, maybe didn't work in terms of creating a catchy concept that you knew you had to avoid.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
a trope you didn't want to fall into.
I
a
think
trope.
that film. There was a film called.
No, don't say the film. Let's name a trope.
You could tell me the film after.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes young characters are a bit cringy in horror films.
Like yours.
Sometimes there's a bit of a cringe factor to some horror movie characters, it feels like.
Well, it's when they're playing teenagers that aren't talking like teenagers. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what happens. But your characters here all feel incredibly authentic.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we tried our best to make them sound and feel authentic, for sure. And yes, a big testament to our cast, who did an amazing job with that.
To lean into the cast here a little bit, of all the roles in the movie, which character changed the most after you filled the role?
That changed the most.
Well, Michael tried to write himself into the film, so there was a character that we cut out because it was so lame.
Don't remember that. I do not remember that at all.
And the character's name was just Michael. He's like, I've written some lines down.
I actually am in the film.
Where are you?
I'm in the opening sequence.
Okay.
Did we tell you about that?
Oh,
can
I
tell you
love
which
that opening sequence.
That all the main characters are in the opening sequence. And they're all dressed as different characters.
I can't wait to see it again tonight and to
yeah,
look
yeah,
out
keep
for
an
all
eye out
them.
for 'em.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a fun game.
Yes.
I was just going to say, I think Otis, who played Daniel, I think that character changed not only because of the edit. There were some things that we cut out to keep things moving. I think that his character would be different to how he appears, a little bit different to how he appears on screen in the final cut.
Okay.
There was it was a bit more with him. But
So if there is ever a director's cut, you will see another dimension to the Daniel character.
Director's cut, deleted scenes, special features, I want it all. I'm gonna ask one more question before we raise the spoiler warning here, but
Yes.
you guys know how much I love talking about your choice to make this independently rather than going with a studio and getting all that money that might have made the production process a little easier. So can you tell me a little little bit about maybe some studio notes or suggestions you got when you were deciding which route to go that confirmed to you, no, we have to make this movie our way?
Well, just to really iron out the mythology on screen and to show where it came from and to talk to an expert like that part of we wanted the kids to be out of their depth and not really understand what they were messing with, and so like that note was a bit scary to us.
That's one of the horror tropes. It's
Yeah,
like every
yeah.
single movie like this with some sort of lore. You always have to have the pit stop at the person who explains everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what we wanted to stay away from. And then another one.
Well, we did a
was
version of it, but they didn't get the answers that they were seeking.
the Australian accents was another one, I think.
They were just sort of maybe hinting at maybe not shooting in Australia, and our producer Sam was sort of conveying that to us, and we were a bit like, oh shit, it was a bit scary. So it was like we really wanted to make it in Australia and with our accents.
All right, this is it. I'm going to do it now. For everybody out there who has not seen Talk to Me, this is the point of the video where you push pause, you go see the movie, then you come back and push play, and it starts right here. We're diving into spoilers. Right now.
Whoop, spoiler alert. Whoop, spoilers. Whoop. Okay,
I'm sorry, he's had a bit to
I
drink.
haven't had much sleep.
He has.
I'm gonna clip that out, and that'll just be our spoiler warning on every Collider video from here on out.
And you just see a lot of click-out rates just because of
So first, a broad question, and I wanted to put up the spoiler warning so you could talk about this freely. I love hearing about how things evolve. So can you give me an example of a day on set when things weren't going to plan, you had to find a creative solution, and something in the movie wound up being better because of it?
The Quain. Quain's the name of the demon that Mira's confronting in the hospital room. There initially was a big transformation sequence where Riley turns into Quain. But our budget was so thin and our timing was so thin, we just weren't able to give it the love that we needed. But the edit that we did, I think, conveyed it perfectly, and it kept the pace going. I think it was a stronger choice because of that.
There was one other one. Let me just say one other one quickly. Right before they go to the first party, originally it was supposed to be down a different street, like a big long tracking shot through a different street around this big tree, but we had lost a bunch of our crew members to COVID, so we had to shuffle things around, and then like it ended up just being out the front of the house. But I think that for me, like it felt cleaner going like a continuous motion from in the house, out, and then onto the street, as opposed to cutting to...
I do think my answer was more exciting.
I noted transformation down because you mentioned it during one of our past conversations and stopped short before revealing any more. So I'm glad to know exactly what that is now. Another thing that we talked about at South by Southwest, you told me that initially the first possession scene went too far to the point that it could make people wonder, why would these kids ever do that again? What did going too far look like?
I am that embarrassed about it. I don't want to say it. Well, I'm not embarrassed. It just like, I'll tell it to you and you'll be like, oh, okay.
It's better left unsaid. It's better left
now you're
unsaid.
making me even
And
more
the kids,
curious.
Oh my
the
gosh.
kids would not do it after that.
Maybe I can tell you when the cameras are off.
Okay,
Maybe
I
I'll
need
use
to
it in another film. It's pretty intense. It's intense.
I need to start making a list of things we have to talk about when the cameras are not rolling. Okay, here's another one. This actually goes back to the screenings that you were mentioning earlier, because I had a friend who saw the Q&A you did, and he said that you guys told them that the scene with Mia in the spirit world, there was more to it, but it was too chaotic and unhinged. What did the chaotic and unhinged version of that scene look like?
It was
just showing a lot more of
the depravity of hell, and it was a really intense, brutally messed up sequence that felt like it was like, okay, we need to peel this back because even our producer said you won't get it past the censors and we're going to get an NC-17 rating. And it was really heavy, and it went for a while, and it was like, we need to cut this down and just give it a small glimpse. But we did hide some frames in that sequence. So if you go through there slowly, you will see some pretty intense imagery.
Well, maybe one day we'll release that original script and then that scene, maybe like an uncut version of the film. Because it wouldn't get a rating.
It has been unrated DVD.
Yeah. I'm curious. I want all this. Also, this conversation is making me curious for both of you. Has there been a horror movie that's crossed I'll watch just about anything, but I do have one or two horror movies where I'm like, you know what? It's just pushing it to a point that I can't watch that ever again.
I think that it's those horror films that when they were like back in the 70s when they were actually killing animals. Like that stuff where it was like, that didn't feel like a horror film. It didn't feel like it was like, there was something about that just makes it feel too schlocky.
There was one scene I remember in, I think it's Nymphomaniac. and she's doing like a self-abortion, like
Oh,
with the
God.
coat hanger. It's like that was the first time when I was like, oh, okay, oh, all right.
I
Cut me out, cut me out. you
There,
know,
there was
like,
another film I
so
watched where I
hard
was like,
to
it was
watch.
too far. It would be something like that. It's when it starts to feel, there is a,
Mine
Killing
is,
animals.
Intense scene.
Yes.
It was an intense scene.
mine is Martyrs. I can't watch Martyrs
yes, of
ever again.
course.
That ending messed me up for
Yeah.
many, many days.
The whole second half was like
Was pretty
my
fucking-
goodness, so intense.
I respected you guys the second I saw this movie because you made a really good movie, but also because you kept the dog safe. There was never any possibility you were ever going to hurt that dog, right?
Never, ever, ever. And I like in the trailers we were alluding to the fact that that dog may get hurt. But, the dog's always getting killed in horror films. We wanted to give this dog a little love.
Yes.
No, wait, I'm just difference of opinion here. When was the last time that a dog died in a film? A big one, a big film.
What are you talking about?
Like every single one.
Oh, okay.
You obviously don't watch a lot of horror
there's,
films.
Right,
There's
well-
so many, and I can't even come up with a single example off the top of my head.
There's been a lot of murder dogs or animals in general in the film. Yeah.
I appreciate the website that clarifies for everybody who wants to know whether
Yeah,
or not the
whether-
dog dies before you see the movie. All right, let's talk about your hand a little, because another thing you brought up at Sundance was that originally the hand was a board. Do you mean like a Ouija board, like that style?
It was just like a haunted board, and the kids were chanting over it.
It didn't have like a planchette though that you moved around.
No.
Okay.
It was just like a placeholder. It said haunted object.
Yeah, we hadn't found it. It was just haunted object, and it'll be something iconic.
Yeah.
Okay. You did the board and wound up with the hand. Was there any other object in between, or was the leap from one to the next?
It was literally like we found it. Like hands were such a big motif and such a big thematically all the way through the original script that once we read it through the full draft, it literally was like, oh my god, this feels like it's been there the whole time, and subtextually it had been.
It's perfect. One question, very specific question about the hand. So I know you said that everything on the hand does have meaning and a story, maybe things you can explore in the sequel. One specific thing I was curious about, do you know what the Hebrew on the hand means? It's like front and center, and like I spoke a little Hebrew. I have a buddy who does, and we don't speak it well, but we couldn't
Yeah.
figure out what it meant.
What we're excited about is for someone to post it and start breaking down the hand and give everyone the answers. I'm very excited for that. So I want to leave it up to people to be
Okay.
able to decode. Yeah.
The answers are there, though.
The answers are there. I
Okay.
can't wait. I'm very excited.
I like that. Here's something I'm curious about. I don't know how far you are with like coming up with like concrete sequel ideas, but I love how the hand and the lore feeds into Mia's journey, and also just the idea of functioning as an opportunity for these kids to get like a quick high, a quick thrill. If you were to bring back this concept, bring back the hand for another sequel, how would the hand and what it's capable of doing impact a new group of characters? Are there any kinds of new human truths that you would explore through that horror?
There's so many facets to things that we were talking about already. Like I find, man, yeah, it's hard to talk about because I do want to do a sequel. That I'm like, am I gonna, give away my sequel ideas?
No, wait. Just out of curiosity, would you rather it be a new story with different characters or continuing the same story?
That's not a fair question.
That's
I
an
wasn't
awesome- yeah,
prepared to
answer that,
questions.
answer that.
As one of the biggest fans of the film,
I will say I think there's potential going any which way. The first thing that came to my mind when you said that was a new group of people, but somehow Mia still being connected to the situation and her being on the side of good but stuck in that realm.
Oh.
But now that I've spoken it, it can't happen because now
Gotta-
people
someone
know.
write that down.
And then we're gonna get sued for stealing her idea.
I hand it to you. This is my video proof. It is yours. I just want more of these movies. I have to let you guys go to your panel to
Oh my God.
celebrate more soon. I want to squeeze in 2 quick Street Fighter questions
Yes.
because it's a really big deal to pick the follow-up film to a huge first debut feature like this. What do you think it is about the Street Fighter concept that, like, I know why you would want to make a Street Fighter movie, but for you as directors enhancing your craft from film to film, what opportunities will it give you that no other movie could?
I think it's awesome that we have such a connection with the game and to the characters, and there's not like a pre-established big film franchise where we have to like fall in line of like an overall plot. I think we'd have the freedom to create what that overall arc could be if it was going to be a bunch of films, and also we'd love the chance to do an action film. We'd love the chance to do big set pieces of a big budget, because like even on our YouTube stuff, we're designing stunt rigs that had never been done before, and to do that on a grand scale, man, I feel like we could create something no one's ever seen before.
Yeah, and I think it's like diving into the lore of Street Fighter, all the characters, where they come from, has been so exciting. And it's like you just get endless ideas. So putting them to screen, yeah, I think we can make something special.
But I will say, I don't know if that's going to be our second film. We could squeeze in another one before that. Come on.
I like the sound of this. I'm going to ask one more Street Fighter question.
Yes.
Because when you're developing a film for a very popular franchise like that, pressure is sky high. People want it to be exactly the same as the thing they already know and love. So what is something about Street Fighter that you know is important to uphold in your film? But then I also want to know something that you think you could bring to it that will make it uniquely yours and maybe give people something they didn't even know they needed from a Street Fighter film.
Well, we definitely want to pay tribute to all the Hadoukens and all the characters' powers. I think that's an amazing thing to be able to translate and put on screen. That's really exciting. And to create some of those impossible moves on camera, I think would be incredible. And then something
Even the settings, like the levels, like where the fights are based, like they're
Yes.
so iconic. Like doing justice to them, like bringing that visually to life, and just capturing that fun energy of Street Fighter.
Yeah, and then something I don't know if we changed, but I think that there's a lot of backstory of the characters, but it's cool that we could have the essence of a character and then give them like a deeper, richer. Like,
But it's rich. It's rich when you look at it. There's so many
Yeah,
comics
I know.
and books and that based on
I
the
hear
characters.
you. I hear you. I do hear you. And we'll
Good
have
thing this guy's not writing, you know?
we'll have to fight that out. Yeah.
I don't care what is next. Sign me up for literally anything the two of you make, but I need Talk to Me Too. I need Talk to Me Too.
Talk to me 3.
And 3 and 4, nonstop. Congratulations on this film. Enjoy your Comic-Con.
Awesome. It was awesome
Thanks
speaking
so
to you
much.
again.
Good to
Thank
see you again. It's so good to see you
too,
again.
Louis. So